All right, guys, what's up? Welcome back to another week of Market Pulse with Dana and David. I'm here with Dana Hutton. What's up, Dana?
Hey, how are ya?
Good, good. So every week we're going through what's going on in the local market here in Middle Tennessee about what's happening in and around town and what we're seeing in the real estate market. So thanks for joining us. All right, Dana, what's going on in real estate right now? What are you noticing? We are the third weekish of March, right? So a couple of weeks until Easter. Typically a pretty busy season going on in the world right now. Still got the conflict in Iran, which doesn't seem to go away. Some bad inflation news last week, interest rates taking a bump. What are you seeing? Let's talk about listings first.
Yeah. So, I'll say listings are still moving. People are still buying, as we can kind of see even with our general team. Year over year, pending sales were up this week over the same time last year. So positive movement as there. Of course, like we've been talking about, we have, more inventory. And as we move closer here into spring, spring has sprung, of course, and typically that's when listings start hitting the market. We're seeing more and more coming soon. And yeah, we actually I was actually looking at price improvements, right? That's what we like to refer to them here with the Huffaker Group, and that's price improvement, right? It's a positive connotation, right? We let the market speak to us. Usually within the first 2 to 3 weeks, we kind of know if we've hit the money or the nail on the head, so to speak, to show us the money of if we're priced right, right? And then we have price improvement strategies that we work with our clients through. We're still seeing average days on market around teetering around 51 days here specifically in Wilson County. And what I was telling David earlier is we actually saw 132 price improvements across the county over the past 7 days. And the interesting thing above that, or about that rather, is that nearly 100 of those 132 were $625,000 list price and below. So what's that tell you, David?
Well, I mean, I think it just tells us that there's a certain portion of the market. We talked about last week what portion of the market is moving and what isn't. We know the higher end of the market does have more opportunity. Transparently, if you've owned a home or two or three, and you bought it, especially if you bought a home before 2020, you've got significant equity in your world, and so the ability to move, while depending upon your interest rate, may not be ideal. Interest rate isn't as big of an impact. So if you can put that money down, the higher end of the market moving, seeing the lower end trying to become more affordable for those buyers, which is crazy. I mean, 600 used to be luxury. Uh, Now, average sales price, I pulled it with Davidson County the other day. Average sales price was, in the high fives, almost six, including
Yep.
Davidson County. We actually remember we took Williamson County out about a year and a half ago, because almost 2 years ago now, because it just throws the numbers
Yeah.
off because of the
Yeah.
price tag being so high. We're going to start doing that with Davidson if we're not careful.
Well,
So again,
Mount Juliet's trickling in at 620,000 as average sales price, and Lebanon's coming in at 490. And to kind of speak upon Williamson County, average sales price in Williamson County now is $1.2 million.
that's amazing. It's where we're seeing more people still pushing out to Gallatin, to Watertown. Again, you see the huge influx here into Lebanon, where I personally live. But again, with that has come a ton of construction, a ton of burden on the local municipalities, right? And so you got city officials trying to figure out how to navigate it. We saw this in Mount Juliet, what, a
Yeah.
decade ago, right? Where they have to start to slow down uh, construction or deals because it's just too much, right? You gotta have the sewer systems to be able to create it. You gotta have the stoplights. You gotta have the school systems. You have to have all the things to be able to service that many people. Traffic, right, is just starting to become a thing. And so I know as we continue to watch Lebanon flourish, being one of the most popular areas since Mount Juliet, now so expensive. Also seeing that trickle over into Carthage, into Watertown, even going north into Hartsville. But those are great areas, right? Great places to live. It just depends upon your proximity and need to be in proximity to Nashville, which is less of a thing since 2022, 2023. Still people going to the office, but all that to say, what does it tell you, Dana, when you see the lower end of the market? How many price reductions did you say? 90 something out of 100 and
32. Mm-hmm.
of 132, right? So that's what, roughly three out of four, give or take. What does that mean? What does that mean to the buyer out there that's looking for a home?
To buyers, it means that sellers are, primed and ready to make a deal work, right? So it's telling us that they've been on the market for a certain amount of days. They're more motivated. And so they're probably more open to negotiations, right? Depending on their motivation, right? Always talking with your local real estate expert, looking at the days on market, high communication level with the other agents on what's most important to that seller, right? Because sometimes it may be that they need more time versus money. And, at that point in time, flexibility is always a big thing in this market. Maybe they need post occupancy as they transition to their next home, or, maybe they need a longer close date, or maybe they need a shorter close date. So just making sure you have that high level of communication with the other side just to ensure that it's a very seamless and smooth transaction and transition for all parties.
I also think it's a good conversation that we like to have with our sellers when we're meeting with them at the kitchen table about, strategizing around listing your home. What you just said is the real world example of what happens when, everybody goes in and then they convince themselves just a little bit more, just a little bit more, just a little bit more on the price. And yet we know the price ahead of the market. We really want to put it out there at a price that's going to cause it to sell and cause it to get interest. Because if, let's say, the home, the comps run it out at, let's just say, $500,000 for easy math, and you decide that, well, the thing I hear the most is like, well, let's list it at 520 so we have room to negotiate. And you kind of go like, yeah, raising the price in order to come back down isn't always a great strategy. Pricing the home where it's at, and then having a professional like Dana or myself to be able to protect your price and be able to defend it when we're having conversations. The challenge is that if we looked at 520 and then all of a sudden we see that we now need to drop it down to five, excuse me, which is where it should have been originally. All of a sudden, the buyers out there assume that that seller is now more
Right.
motivated. So now you were at 520, you're at five. So now I'm going to come in with an offer at
Mhm.
475 or 480 to see what you're willing to take. And if you are motivated, at that point, you may be frustrated. You may be 30, 45, 60 days on market, 90 days on market. And the seller may look up and go like, I'm tired of the showings. I want to get on with, let's just take 485 and call it a day. And you go, that's the real world play out of overpricing the home versus going out at five, being able to defend the price at five, and being able to get quick offers within a few weeks. It's less headache, and we're able to sell your house for top dollar without that kind of downward trickle from the psychological effect, right? Is that what you see?
Yeah, and I always try to coach our clients like we want the market to chase us versus us have to chase the market down, right? We refer to, being listed too long and maybe not having these price improvement conversations. I mean, we have that price improvement conversation at the table. This is what you should expect. Should we not have enough showings? Should the feedback be poor, right? We can't change location. We can't change layouts, right? Sometimes we can change condition, and so really kind of back up and look at it as really ultimately it always comes down to price, whether that's not what we want to hear or we don't want to hear, right? So, avoiding that stale effect of just kind of sitting stagnant on the market because stale does not sell.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. I'm gonna see if it'll let me share my screen. I thought this was interesting because let me see if it'll show here. The data that we've shown before, right? So we track this data week over week. So this is 2024 and 2025 of the four primary counties. You can see that in yellow and in gray. So that's going to be Davidson County, Wilson County, Sumner County, and Rutherford County. We took Williamson County out a while back. That's the four county area for 2024, 2025. As far as just number of homes on average, there's some math worked in there to level it out to ours. But then you kind of see the 24, 25, 26 of the Huffaker group. We kind of track this data weekly so that we don't have to wait until April to know what's going on in March. And so, Dana, this is the first I've looked at it. This spike here for 322, again, March right now being one of our best, not one of being the best month ever that we've seen. And then to follow that up with a sales level here, only to match back in, let's see, this is, yeah, right here, this big jump here in 2024, the first week, 20, and then to be able to kind of see that here, 322. Pretty impressive there, just the number of sales activities going on. What do you think's driving that right now in the market? Because if we look at the MLS overall, you can see kind of our growth year over year is, up in the 7,500%. versus for those of you looking at us, the MLS change right now this year is in yellow, still trending up much higher than the blue line, which was the MLS change. So we definitely are seeing more activity in the market. You can kind of see this green trend line, right, really above the other colors most of the year. Does that mean that 2026 is, going to be better for the market?
I mean, from what we've heard from Gary Keller on stage, last month, that this year we will still continue to have growth. Again, it's never going to see tremendous growth like we did, 2020, 2021, 2022, and yet the market should be, stable and even see some growth out there.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's for all that's going on in the world, you try to think through the psychological impact of what's going on. And you really got to back up and go, we're 4 years into a market cycle, which is about the average length of most market kind of resets, and where we haven't seen a significant drop in prices, which again, you and I said a few weeks ago, we've
Yeah,
had 3 years that prices have
3 years.
gone backwards in the last 30. So this myth that like there's this massive bottoming out probably doesn't happen. And if it does, the only thing that's going to cause that is some significant problems in the world, which none of us want to wish on each other. So you kind of go like, all right, the feel of homes being more affordable will be the interest rates coming down. That will be the real catalyst. And if we went back and looked at that chart, I would say that the spike in what we've seen over the last few weeks was when interest rates had kind of hit below 6. We know that's kind of the psychological number. Rates
Right.
right now, Dana, what are you seeing in the market this week in terms of rates?
Yeah, we're looking at right at 6.5%.
Yeah, so significantly worse, right? I mean, we're back up about 0.5%, and that's kind of coming from the war in Iran. We got some bad inflation data, last week of just I think it was I may say this wrong. I think it was the Producers Price Index came out extremely way hotter, which is probably the Fed's favorite gauge on inflation. Again, all to just kind of say like, what impact does that have on the 10-year Treasury, which is what guides mortgage rates more often. Right now trending higher. And so I don't know there's really anything to ease that until we get some stability in the world, which seems like a lost cause at this point, right? It's every week there's a new thing to worry about. As the war in Iran continues to drag out, I think that bodes poorly for the housing industry, for interest rates, for just the economy in general. You can tell the government seems to now be having more and more conversations about how do we get this wrapped up, because I think they understand that their goal is never to drag it out and let it have a negative impact on the economy overall. And yet politically, can't just flip the switch off. So we'll see what the Trump administration chooses to do and how they choose to approach that. You saw yesterday, again, this is 324 and we're recording at 323. The S&P 500 and the Dow took significant hikes upwards on the proposal that maybe there were some talks about, ending the war. And so you can see the market is same thing in the real estate market, right? People are on the sidelines, and there is enough pent up demand that I think that's what's leading the sales rise in the early part of this year. Rates kind of taking a dip, ton of demand, which when that demand gets to this 4th year mark, Dan, it's why we don't see markets set more than 4 years usually, is because at some point life has to go on, right? I can only live in mom's basement for so long. I can only be in the house with 2 babies and 2 dogs for so long, right?
Right.
At some point life has to go on. So you tend to make the decision the best you can in the moment. And so hopefully that'll push us to a 4.5 to 4.6 million sides this year, knowing that we've been at about 4 the last few years.
Yeah.
So a lot of analytical talk that maybe helps some people. Maybe they just shake their head. I have no idea what they're talking about. If you don't, best time to pick up the phone and reach out to us at the Huffaker Group. Let us consult with you on why now may or may not be the best time to buy or sell. Talk to Dana or one of our amazing agents. Would love the chance just to meet you. We always say whether you're going to make a move in 30 days or 30 years, it really doesn't matter to us. We do this for a lifetime, and so happy to serve you in any way
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. Definitely want to meet you where you're at for sure.
Yeah. So tell us about what's going on in the community. I know we've been working on more community-focused projects here. So again, we operate a lot out of Wilson County, but Davidson, Rutherford, Sumner, and Williamson, we don't completely exclude that. We
No,
even
we
have
don't.
teams as
We'll
far
take it
as
all.
Cookville, Crossville, Knoxville, all around Tennessee if someone needs help. But what's going on locally that people can get out and do coming up this
Yeah,
weekend?
yeah. So it should be a gorgeous week. And Easter is upon us, a week from Sunday. But this week here in Wilson County, both Mount Juliet and Lebanon are having their community Easter egg hunts. And you could actually go to both. You've got 9 to 10 over at the sports complex over off Murfreesboro Road in Lebanon on Saturday the 28th. And then you can follow it up and still make it over to Mount Juliet to Charlie Daniels from 11 to 2. So you can get all the eggs you want.
That's awesome. You've seen that new sports complex over there? The place looks great.
Been driven by it. We played soccer for Wilson United for many years, and we knew it was coming eventually, but it's
Yeah.
finally here. But I
Yeah, it
do
looks
hear it's
good.
super
They're
nice.
finally starting to make some progress. They got, I see some teams playing over there for the first
That's
time.
right.
We travel some out to Murfreesboro for travel ball. So that's amazing. All right. So what other than Easter coming up, what impact will Easter have? If I'm thinking about putting my home on the market, do I want to do it now? Do I want to wait till Easter? Do I wait till after Easter? What's timing wise? When's best?
Yeah. So strategy wise, I wouldn't list, I would definitely consider putting your home on the market next week. I do avoid kind of some of our marketing activities the weekend of Easter. If that is a necessity, say you've put a contract on a home and you need it on the market. We have some great strategies around the holiday. Not right. There's really no bad time to list. You just got to make sure you have the right marketing strategies and listing rollout to make it effective.
Yeah. That being said, it's a roll of the dice, right? It's trying to guess. We used to have a strategy to try to figure out when was the best time to do an open house. Is it on a sunny Sunday afternoon when the weather's beautiful, or is it on a rainy Sunday afternoon? And it doesn't. There's no rhyme or reason. We
Yeah.
found it. Sure. So you think about, like, you got Good Friday coming up. You got Easter. Probably not a whole lot of open houses, for instance, happening on an Easter Sunday or probably
Yeah.
even that Saturday. But then on the flip side of that, you got a lot of people off work for a 3 day weekend right there, maybe a 4 day weekend. Could be out wanting to potentially buy a home if they have time off right then. We see, again, a lot of clients traveling in from out of states. One of the best things about our personal company is that we have connections all over the country, whether you're moving out or moving in. So we get a lot of referrals from agents around the country, and people tend to travel a lot over the holiday weekend. And so there can be a lot of activity for highly motivated buyers and sellers. So again, reach out to your favorite THE agent. Let's consult with you on what may be best when it comes to that. All right, Dana, what are you guys doing this week? Anything exciting? Got kids in sports?
Baseball, go Bears.
Go Bears. You got a shirt on. I like it. Yeah,
With my suit jacket, a little business and a little fun.
I like it. I like it. Same thing for us. Got a lot of baseball going on. Got soccer tonight, so we'll be at the ball fields all night tonight. We got a baseball game, a soccer game, and then a JV baseball game. So
Yeah.
we'll be there for a few hours, but loving this time of year. Weather's great, guys. If you're
Yes.
thinking about making a move, would love to have a conversation with you. We do know that March to June and July are really great times to be a buyer or a seller, and I do think this year, given the turmoil of what's going on in the market, is still probably not enough to thwart highly motivated buyers and sellers. So if you want to buy, now could be the right time. There are some incentives out there and some things coming up, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. Some grants about to be released that could work in your favor. And again, if you're a motivated seller or want to get your home moved and move on, let's have a chat about why that might make sense to do it now. Dana, thanks for your time. Have a great week.
Awesome. Yes. Have a
Talk to you
great
later.
weekend, buddy. Bye.
See you guys.